On Friday the 12th of October, it was announced that 20-year-old Brit and current F2 Championship leader George Russell would be driving for Williams Martini Racing in the 2019 Formula 1 season, making his debut in the sport. But who is George Russell? How did he get to Formula 1? How good is he? Well, you've come to the right place, as I take a look through George's motor racing career so far and his rise from karting all the way to Formula 1 in 2019. George Russell was born on the 15th of February 1998 in Kings Lynn, Norfolk, England, to parents Alison and Steve Russell. His older brother, Benji Russell, was the first to get into karting, where he was a young prodigy. He had started off horse riding, but he wanted to try out karting instead, where it turned out he wasn't too bad at it. He won a Junior British Championship in 2001 and the Senior British Championship in 2007, as well as winning the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Final in Abu Dhabi. He was rated as one of the best British karters of the noughties by Karting magazine. However, he gave up his motorsport driving career after karting, after studying for a maths degree at Loughborough University and becoming a sales manager for Intrepid UK karting team, and he now works in the medical equipment industry. After seeing the success of his brother, George wanted a piece of the action, and he started karting in 2006 at 8 years old. He had a talent for racing from an early age, like his brother Benji. He progressed through the cadet classes, winning the 2008 Kart Masters British Grand Prix at WTP cadet level. In 2009, he won the British Open Championship at Coma cadet level, the Formula Kart Stars Cadet Championship, which Lewis Hamilton and Bernie Ecclestone had sponsored after Lewis Hamilton had won it in 1996 as the McLaren Champions of the Future Series, and the MSA Kart Masters Grand Prix at Coma cadet level, also won by Lewis Hamilton in 1996. Both were aged 11 as well. In 2010, he moved up to the Rotax Mini Max category, and he once again won 3 championships. He won the Kart Masters British Grand Prix and Formula Kart Stars once again at the higher category, as well as becoming the Super 1 British champion, where he competed against current GP2 driver Jack Aitken. This meant George was one of the only drivers to win Kart Masters 3 times, in 3 different classes. In 2011, he moved up to the Premier Junior Karting class, KF3. He nearly won the Kart Masters British Grand Prix once again, but a loose exhaust caused him to be flagged whilst leading the race. He won the SCUSA Super Nationals title that year, which also featured current Williams F1 driver Lance Stroll and former F2 bad boy Santino Ferrucci. In the same year, he won the CIK FIA European KF3 Championship, once again competing against Stroll, as well as more current F1 drivers such as Esteban Ocon and Max Verstappen. The following year, he retained the European KF3 Championship, as well as finishing runner-up in the Super 1 British KF3 Championship and 3rd in the WSK Masters Series. He struggled a bit with his height in 2012 after a growth spurt over the winter. He said the extra height gave him extra drag and caused the kart to bog down. In what was to be his final year in karting in 2013, he moved to KF, the top tier of karting, where he finished 12th in the European Championship and 19th in the World Championship. 2014 was the year that 16-year-old George Russell made his debut in single-seater racing. He first took part in the Miller's Oil's Toyota MR2 Championship for 1 round at Donington Park to gain a signature for his licence before stepping into single-seater racing. He first took part in the Formula Renault 2.0 Alps Championship for Koiranen GP, although this was a late swap from Prima Power Team. Despite missing one of the 7 rounds with chickenpox, he finished 4th in the championship and 1st in the Constructors' Championship, which was won by teammate and current F2 driver Nick De Vries, with 2019 Ferrari F1 driver Charles Leclerc finishing 2nd. He achieved his first podium of his single-seater career in Austria, finishing in second place, which was his only podium of that championship. He also competed for 2 rounds of the Euro Cup Formula Renault 2.0 Championship, firstly at Monaco with Koiranen, and then in the final round at Jerez with Tech 1 Racing, which was a last-minute switch, where he won the final race of the season after starting from pole position. George's main success in 2014, however, came in the BRDC Formula 4 Championship, racing for defending champions Lannon Racing. He won 2 of the first 3 races of the season at Silverstone and managed another 2 wins, 2 pole positions and 5 podiums throughout the season, leading up to the final round of the season at Snetterton, where he was 21 points behind the leader, teammate Arjun Maini. There was a 4-way fight for the championship, with 38 points separating first and fourth, with up to 35 points available in one race. George managed to grab pole position for the first race, but he only finished 7th in the race, but this saw the gap reduced to 19 points. He then finished 2nd in the second race, which left him 13 points behind first, with the gap between first and fourth now just 25 points, meaning it was still all to play for. In simple terms, if George won the final race and Maini finished 4th or less, he would win the championship, and that is exactly what he did, as he won the race and Maini finished 5th, meaning George won the championship by 3 points. As a prize for winning the BRDC Formula 4 Championship, he tested a GP3 car with Arden Motorsport at the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi on the 27th of November. Even more success was to come when he became the youngest ever winner of the McLaren Autosport BRDC Award at the Autosport Awards ceremony on the 7th of December 2014, with the finalists including his closest challenger in the F2 Championship this season and possible Toro Rosso driver next season, Alexander Albon. With the award, he received £100,000, a British Racing Drivers Club membership, an Airy GP6 RC carbon helmet, and a McLaren F1 test drive. Early in 2015, George was announced as one of the 12 drivers selected to join the British Racing Drivers Club Superstars programme, the youngest ever recruit to the scheme, alongside the aforementioned Albon, as well as 2011 and 2013 McLaren Autosport Award winners Oliver Rowland and Matt Parry, and 2014 GP3 Series winner and current WEC driver Alex Lynn. George would make the step up to Formula 3 in 2015, competing in the European Formula 3 Championship with Carlin. In the opening round of the season, he won the second race of the weekend, ahead of Charles Leclerc and 2019 Sauber F1 driver Antonio Giovinazzi. During the rest of the season, he took a further 2 podiums, finishing 3rd in the final race at Spa and 2nd in the final race at Norrisring in Germany. He finished the season in 6th in the Drivers' Championship, 4th in the Constructors' Championship and 2nd in the Rookies' Championship behind Leclerc. George also finished 2nd in the historic Masters of Formula 3 event in Zandvoort behind Giovinazzi, and was set to take part in the Macau Grand Prix, but he was replaced shortly before the event. However, he did take part in the McLaren F1 test before the year ended, after winning the 2014 McLaren Autosport Award. The test took part at Silverstone, where he drove in a McLaren MP4 26 car, the car used by McLaren in the 2011 F1 season, in which Jenson Button won the memorable race in Canada. The 2016 season saw George stay in European Formula 3, where he would race for newcomers High-Tech GP, who had a car powered by the Mercedes-AMG Formula 3 engine. Despite being a new team and retiring 6 times throughout the season, he managed to win 2 races and 6 more podiums to finish 2nd in the Constructors' Championship and 3rd in the Drivers' Championship, which was won by Lance Stroll, who went on to drive for Williams in the 2017 F1 season. George also took part in the 2016 Macau Grand Prix for High-Tech GP, where he managed to bag pole position and finish 7th in the main race. This brought the attention of the reigning Formula 1 World Champions Mercedes, and in January 2017 it was announced that George was the latest addition to Mercedes' driver lineup alongside Pascal Wehrlein and Esteban Ocon. A couple of years earlier, in late 2014, George got hold of the email address of Toto Wolff and sent him an email with his CV, and they ended up meeting. Toto gave George advice over which Formula 3 team he should drive for, saying he should drive for Muck instead of Carlin, possibly down to Muck having Mercedes engines. George ended up making his own mind up, despite Toto saying he thought it was a mistake. He was also offered a role as a DTM reserve driver by BMW in 2016, which is when Mercedes came in and offered him a simulator assessment, although he could be rejected at any point. In the end, he decided to take the option with Mercedes and see what happened, which led to him receiving the offer from Mercedes. George would head to GP3 for the 2017 season, where he would be part of the ART Grand Prix team after driving for them in a pre-season test in Abu Dhabi in November 2016. Their previous drivers include Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Nico Rosberg, Valtteri Bottas, and many more. After finishing 4th and 5th in the first round, he grabbed his first pole position at the Red Bull Ring in Austria and managed to win the subsequent race as well. He followed that up with another pole and win at his home race at Silverstone, and a pole, win and fastest lap at Spa. Overall, he managed 4 wins, 4 pole positions and 3 second place finishes, as he won both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship ahead of his teammate Jack Aitken, winning the championship with 1 round to spare. During the season, he also took part in the F1 Young Driver Test for Mercedes at Budapest, doing 209 laps over 2 days. George also got his F1 practice debut in 2017 as he drove for Force India in FP1 at the Brazilian Grand Prix and the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. He would go on to be one of the Pirelli tyre test drivers for Force India at the post-Spanish Grand Prix test on the 1st of May 2018, where he completed 123 laps for the team at the test. On the 18th of January 2018, Russell was confirmed as a driver for ART Grand Prix for the 2018 F2 Championship, which would see the new F2 car make its debut in an expanded 12-race calendar. He would be driving alongside his old GP3 teammate and rival from the 2017 season, Jack Aitken. He was also announced as the Mercedes F1 reserve driver for 2018, which he would share with Pascal Wehrlein. George started the season well, qualifying 2nd for the first race and finishing 5th in the opening race, although he finished 19th in the sprint race. Despite qualifying 3rd at Baku, he only managed to finish 12th in the feature race. He did lead most of the race, however, but a late safety car caused the field to bunch up, and at the restarts he had to take avoiding action, and it left him stranded in the runoff area, ruining his chance of victory.
Right, Norris, oh, it could be contact, and there is, and it's a change of lead. That's absolutely extraordinary.
Wow. Although he did win the sprint race after starting down in 12th. He then won the feature race in Spain after a battle for the win with Nick De Vries, and finished 4th in the sprint race, leaving him 2nd in the Drivers' Championship. George had a disaster at Monaco, however, finishing out of the points in both races after an engine failure in practice. He came back fighting, however, winning the feature race in the next round in France after his first pole position of the season. Over the course of the next 2 rounds at Austria and Great Britain, he won 1 race and finished 2nd 3 times, as well as achieving pole position at both races, giving him a 37-point lead in the Drivers' Championship over Lando Norris. He then had a technical issue at Hungary, where he had to start from the pit lane and subsequently retired from the feature race. In the sprint race, starting from 20th, he managed to finish 8th and gain 1 point, but his championship lead had been reduced to 12 points. A few days after, he took part in the 2018 F1 test for Mercedes, where he set the unofficial lap record with a 1 minute 15.575 on day 2, after doing 116 laps that day. A couple of weeks earlier than that, at the 2018 German Grand Prix, George had a meeting with Chief Technical Officer Paddy Lowe and Deputy Team Principal Claire Williams at Williams Martini Racing, where he had discussed the fact he wanted to drive for Williams in the 2019 Formula 1 season, as revealed in an interview to Sky Sports.
Well, I actually gave Paddy a phone call about probably 3 months ago. I knew him from when he was at Mercedes. I said, right, Paddy, I want to be in Formula 1 and I want to drive for Williams. And could we arrange a meeting with yourself and Claire? And half a week later, I was in Hockenheim, sat in their office, and that was our first point of contact. And then things progressed from there.
At the next F2 race in Spa, George started from second and finished third in the feature race. He then had to go into damage limitation mode in the sprint race after lighting up his rear tyres, meaning he only finished 7th. This now meant his lead had been further reduced to just 5 points over Norris. However, the next 2 races would prove critical in the championship, as both his championship rivals faltered. George managed his 4th pole position of the season at Monza, and he finished 4th in the feature race after a wheel-to-wheel battle with Lando Norris, and he finished 1st in the sprint race. The sprint race also saw Albon retire, and he now led the championship by 22 points. The race weekend at Sochi proved to be a massive moment and almost sealed the championship for Russell. He finished 4th in the feature race, behind race winner and championship rival Albon, but his closest rival Norris had a slow getaway and had an issue in the pits, meaning he didn't score any points, and another no score in the sprint race saw him out of the championship. George went on to win the sprint race, with Albon finishing 3rd after rain hit during the race. This means that going into the final race weekend of the season in Abu Dhabi, George has a 37-point lead over Alexander Albon, with 48 points, the maximum a driver can score in one weekend. This means that George needs to score 11 points over the 2 races to win the Drivers' Championship, as he would win on a countback of second place finishes if both drivers have the same number of points. The biggest moment in George's motorsport career came earlier this month, when it was announced on the 12th of October 2018 that George would compete in the 2019 FIA Formula 1 World Championship with Williams Racing on a multi-year deal. His teammate has yet to be confirmed by Williams at the time of writing. It is unsurprising to see Williams sign George. In his first season in F2, he has amassed more victories than any other driver, as well as most pole positions, laps led, and total amount of podiums, despite multiple unreliability issues. Williams also have a proud recent history of bringing in young rookie drivers and helping them improve, mature, and show their potential. From 2009 World Champion Jenson Button and 2016 World Champion Nico Rosberg to Nico Hülkenberg, Valtteri Bottas, and Lance Stroll. George's championship rival for most of the season, fellow Brit Lando Norris, has been signed by McLaren for the 2019 season alongside Carlos Sainz, meaning there will be 3 British drivers on the grid. There is also the possibility, as this is written, that Thai British driver and other championship rival Alexander Albon could be driving for Toro Rosso next season as well, alongside Daniel Kvyat. And with Charles Leclerc making the step up to Ferrari, Kimi Raikkonen returning where he started at Sauber, Pierre Gasly moving to Red Bull alongside Max Verstappen, Daniel Ricciardo moving to Renault, and new F1 regulations being brought in to try and make it possible for the cars to have closer racing and more overtaking. The 2019 F1 season could be one of the most exciting seasons for years. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this. Check out my previous videos where I made a 2-part documentary series on the Crashgate scandal from the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix. Leave in the comments below how you think George Russell will do for Williams next season, and if you think it was the right move. Also, let me know what you want to see me talk about in the next video. See you next time.